The warmth of dawn flooded over the snow-capped peaks of the eastern ranges, its hard gaze forcing the mists of night into retreat, sheltering in the mountain's shadow where they could find but a moment's refuge from the sun's rising glory. The night's chilled air danced with the acquired scents of campfires and stewing pots, and the youth of spring held sparingly to the night's latent dew still lingering but a little longer upon the morning breeze. Comfortable under her sheets, the scents proved too strong and drew the maiden from her slumber. Sitting up barely coherent, Illarna soon realized she was the last to awaken, so she grabbed her cloak and moved her way outside. As she drew open the tent, the morning's light washed over her like a warm blanket, but a dark chill still lingered in the air, its bite quickly raising the hairs on her arms. Pushing the cold from her mind, Illarna pulled her cloak over her shoulders, all the while looking around from the heights her position provided. To her pride, a large cluster of tents stood swaying against the cool breeze. Between the white gilded tents, the maidens moved about with purpose, the fragrance from their morning meals still hanging in the air. Lingering on the scene before her, she noticed Sylvain approaching with food and a hot beverage in hand. She finally awakens. Unable to hold her smile, Illarna tried to steer the conversation away from her sleeping mishap. What is with this mist? We are halfway through spring, and yet it grows even colder. Stopping herself, Illarna realized she was not surprised in the least. Just look at all the unusual weather we have been dealing with these past few years. It does line up with the stories that we were told, though it still seems surreal to actually see it come to reality in our lifetime. We have barely started this journey, and I fear the world already feels different. Sylvain finished thinking back on all the reports of strange events. Forcing down a yawn, Illarna lifted another spoonful of soup from her bowl. It's been 3 days now since we left Valentia. Illarna paused to finish the mouthful of food. It's strange, I have been experiencing these dreams every night since we left, but I can't really explain it, though for some reason I feel they are important. Illarna pondered, trying to recall and organize the details in her mind. I just don't understand it. It's confusing because I remember the dream vividly when I wake, but within seconds it begins to fragment. Dreams are funny like that, La, Sylvain responded, passing over a drink. They aren't supposed to make sense, though I guess you could find a dream walker, but that's not my forte. Skeptical, Illarna continued, do you really think there are people out there that can do that? Sure, why not? It is said that the Tal for one can do all sorts of strange things, so I don't see why there wouldn't be others out there who could venture into the world of dreams. Pulling her cup close, Illarna looked past Sylvain to a group of maidens talking in the distance. I suppose you're right. It's just that it feels different, and it's really getting under my skin. Taking a sip of the heated beverage, Illarna smiled. Kagawa, at this rate we won't have any for the trip back. Hey, we should enjoy it while we can. Who knows what might happen, besides you're just trying to change the subject. Knowing it was a long shot at best, Illarna begrudgingly complied. By the Tal. Okay, I'll describe what I remember. Reaching for the memories as best as she could, Illarna focused. It always seems to start with me running from something until all that's left is smoke. Completely lost, I begin to wander aimlessly. Until after what seems like ages, exhausted, I finally stop. But to my surprise, a man steps out from the fog standing at least half a foot taller than myself. Seemingly unaware of my presence, the man just stands there until suddenly he shifts his gaze and stares at me with blazing blue eyes that seem to shimmer silver in reflected light. He had brown hair, short, but in a strange fashion, and his skin, though fair, looked as though it had never seen a day's labour. Noticing the smile growing on Sylvain's face, Illarna sighed. Oh, by the Tal. Sorry, this just reminds me of when we first met all those years ago, Sylvain said, falling back in her seat, letting her memories run wild. Embarrassed, Illarna tilted her head slightly towards Sylvain, letting out a half smile. Anyway, the dream was completely devoid of emotion. As I said, it just feels different. Maybe we are thinking too deep into the matter. Maybe the dream is just a dream. You have been stressed and agitated since you found out about your father's orders to allow the brothers of Nadrid to accompany us. You're probably right. They have already gotten under my skin. You don't even have to be near them. Just by mentioning the Brotherhood, you get all tense. I just don't trust them, never have, never will. Something about them is off. I just don't know what it is yet. They are a cult. Of course something is off. Grumbling to her feet, Illarna looked around. True, I'm starting to regret ever letting Father dictate the matter. Taking a moment, she looked to the height of the sun before turning back to Sylvain. We should break camp, otherwise we won't reach the next village before nightfall. By the Tal, I am glad we are almost at Renham. My backside is raw, and my water skin will barely last another day, expressed a maiden sitting atop her horse of average height but of rare beauty, her visage elevated even more by her slender athletic build. Her dark blonde hair held still by a floral clasp, her green eyes shone with passion relaying the rarity of her lineage. Her soft demeanour hid a very capable and agile warrior, her skill and finesse with a sword rivaling even that of Illarna. Her stature carved of grace called to the hearts of men, but the underestimation of her skills proved the bane of many. I understand what you mean, Avril. I could go for some mead myself. A second maiden replied, a woman known well to the maidens. Morella was the name given, however none knew of her house, and she never spoke of it. But all knew she was the one to go to for help, for she stood a virtuous person well known to be worthy of trust. Many view her as the mother of the maidens, for she spent every effort making sure everyone found themselves taken care of, and in the times that she was not needed, she enjoyed her time spent drinking mead and revelling in the spectacle of those who can't hold their temper. The thought made Illarna smile because this left more time for her to handle more serious issues. Of course you do. Mead is but the fuel you use to burn brighter. Sylvain smiled, knowing she was all too serious. Too right, it is. Life would be boring without a drink in hand. Where do you think all those stories come from? Morella replied, though I doubt you can remember much after the fact, hey Morella, Avril said, smiling, remembering the aftermath of Morella's last adventure into a tavern. And that is why I always bring someone like you along, someone far more responsible with your drink than I. That way you can tell the tale on my behalf. That doesn't smell good, Sylvain said, her attention being diverted by the smell of smoke on the wind. Stopping by her horse, Illarna began to look around for smoke on the horizon, but instead found her forward scout returning at full speed. Well, we are about to find out. Illarna, Sylvain said, leaning into her direction, as the memory of Illarna's dream is fresh on her mind. About your dream, do you think that maybe the fire and smoke has something to do with this? Illarna thought for a moment. It's uncanny, but I don't know how this fire could be relevant to me in any way. I don't know. You know, for someone who holds a lot of knowledge, you got nothing for me? I could repeat what I heard or read in books about the Dreamwalkers in the library, but we both know where you lie with the subject. You should maybe try reading sometime. You never know what you might find, and Tal forbid you might enjoy it. I can hardly be held to that account. They are so mind-numbingly dreary. Maybe if there was something of interest, I wouldn't fall asleep every time I tried. Attention drawn to the sound of hoofs. Illarna turned to the scouts returning and waited. The scout took a brief moment, gasping before beginning her report. My lady, there is a grass fire burning northwest of our position on the other side of the town. If the winds do not change, all the villages in the area are in danger. Concern growing visibly on her face, Illarna knew she would, in this moment, need to make a choice. But could she really just leave the villagers to their fate? The decision grated at her, for she knew she did not have the time to involve herself in this, and furthermore her training was very clear on the matter. Each and every one of her instructors would have said the same thing. She should move past and continue her quest. Unable to stomach the thought, she turned to the scout leader, Helena. How long until it hits one of the villages? It could be a matter of hours or days, my lady. It's hard to tell, the maiden scout replied, waiting for Illarna's command. Noticing the strain in her face, Helena pressed for an answer. What are your orders, my lady? Eyes knowing Illarna struggled to say the words. We move towards the fire, she answered, the words falling from her mouth with a final breath of relief. For in her heart she knew she had made the right decision. Hearing another horse coming up behind her, Illarna turned around, and as soon as her eyes fell on the man, her demeanour fell.
I know what you are thinking. However, we do not have time to waste on these mere villages. Just let it burn. We need to get to the city of Ostalin.
Anatole commanded, the condescension clear in his voice as he pulled back the reins on his horse. Silence fell as Anatole's words hung in the air. But the maidens remained poised to defend their phoenix, if only Illarna would give them the word. First of all, what the hell happened to 100 paces? She snapped.
Do you not understand the utmost importance of this mission? This is not some minor adventure through the grasslands. We are here to slay a dragon. Nothing else is of any importance. If he is allowed to roam free, your lands will perish along with everyone else's.
Anatole said, raising his voice to reinforce his position on the matter. Anger rising up, Illarna was unable to keep civilized. "Watch your tongue. I am the Lady of the Phoenix. I do not take orders from anyone other than the king. A position far above you, serpent. Why my father keeps you and your cult around is beyond my comprehension, but mark my words, if you speak to me in that fashion again, it will no longer matter."
In that case, I will grant you your wish, little phoenix. I need not tolerate this blasphemy. No one disrespects the brothers of Nadrid. Valentir will no longer have our allegiance, and as such we shall go our separate ways.
Turning to leave, Anatole gave a final threat.
We will see who finds the dragon first, my lady.
Illarna should have left it there. Instead, however, she yelled out as he galloped back to his brethren. "To whatever dark deity to which you pray, I hope they give you the strength to put up a fight, for I would hate the dragon to beat my blade to your neck." Calming herself, she turned back to her maidens. A wave of relief washed over her as she allowed herself a few whispered moments to escape her vice-like control. "I wish I had confronted him earlier, no matter the orders." Illarna couldn't help but find herself wondering, might the Tal'dorin save me the trouble? That's assuming they can even get past the border, given that the kingdom of Ald'athaeia has little to no love for outsiders, namely anyone other than the Tal themselves, of course. Although it's a problem we will also need to face in time. What a pain.